went so he dropped them actually too much. Okay, here's the story. I think that if you're a very good president with good sense, you should be able to at least talk to him. I don't say make the decision at all, but I mean, I've been a very successful businessman. I've done really good, much better. Now people are understanding how good I've done because they're seeing it. Much better than the fake news wants to give me credit for.
Just on the issue of whether you would replace
I think I have the right to say, as a very good businessman and somebody that's used a lot of sense, I think I have the right to say that, you know, I think I'm better than he would be. I think I'm better than most people would be in that position. I think I have the right to say I think you should go up or down a little bit. I don't think I should be allowed to order it, but I think I have the right to put in comments as to whether or not interest rates should go up or down.
When you looked at the Supreme Court, you came up with a list of people who you thought of replacing, bringing in as Supreme Court justices. Yeah. Would you do that with the Federal Reserve?
Well, I no longer need it. It was a great thing. In fact, a lot of people said I got elected because of that. I was an unknown quantity. I was very known as a business guy, but I wasn't known as a political person or the leader of a country. And people were very worried about, you know, actually they were worried, am I going to be liberal, if you want to know the truth? And somebody said, would you come up with a list of 20 or 25 justices, in this case mostly judges, that you'd put in case it were necessary? Now, it's amazing because I got 3 in 4 years. Most people get none. Because, you know, you put them in the young. You tend to put them in young. Only stupid people put old. You know, you don't put old in because they're there for 2 years or 3 years.
You're a 78-year-old man running for president.
3. A lot of judges, a lot of presidents get none. I got 3. And I think they've been 3 great choices, too, by the way. But
just on the Federal Reserve,
by the way, I think they have been really great choices. But I got 3 judges, and you know what they want to do? They want to now put up to 25 justices into the Supreme Court, the radical left, and that can't happen. So I think I've done a great job on putting in justices and 300 judges, and that made a tremendous difference in the country. You know, I was a little lucky because Barack Hussein Obama did not get his judges approved, a lot of them. So I ended up with 125 judges before I got there.
Barack Hussein Obama.
So again, most presidents don't even get to put a Supreme Court judge in because there's 9, and you know they're there for a long time. Most of them are there for a very long time, and I got 3, which is a very unusual situation. I got 3 in 4 years.
Maybe we can change the subject to technology, seeing you wouldn't answer about the Federal Reserve. The US Justice Department is thinking about breaking up Alphabet, as Google likes to be known now. Should Google be broken up?
That should be interesting.
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes. And the Justice Department sued them that they should be allowed to put those bad votes and illegal votes back in and let the people vote. So I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen that. They can't even believe it.
The question is about Google, President Trump.
Yeah, look, Google's got a lot of power. They're very bad to me, very, very bad to me. I mean, I can speak from that standpoint. They only have bad stories. In other words, if I have 20 good stories and 20 bad stories, and everyone's entitled to that, you'll only see the 20 bad stories. And I called the head of Google the other day, and I said, I'm getting a lot of good stories lately, but you don't find them in Google. I think it's a whole rigged deal. I think Google's rigged just like our government is rigged all over the place.
You would break them up, in other words?
I'd do something, but you have to have, look, I give them a lot of credit. They've become such a power. It's such a power, and you got to give them credit for that. How they became a power is, you know, really the discussion. At the same time, it's a very dangerous thing because we want to have great companies. We don't want China to have these companies. Right now, China is afraid of Google. Right now, you know, China is a very powerful, very smart group of people. I will tell you that from very personal experience.
There's an example of a Chinese tech company at the moment, TikTok.
Yeah.
You initially wanted to ban TikTok. Now you like it, apparently for some reason to do with Facebook.
Yeah.
There is a decision coming up, if you became president, its Chinese parent would have to sell it, I think it's by January the 19th. Would you force them to do that?
So I originally had it all done, and then I said to Congress, your decision. I said, I'm not going to, pull any strings, nothing. Your decision. You make it. But I had it all done, and I said, you make it. And they decided not to make it. I didn't care if they made it or not, because to me it was a flip of a coin. You have some real First Amendment problems. You have a lot of problems.
You just talked about Chinese technology, the need to defend against it.
Yeah.
TikTok and the threat people see to many kind of American children and things like that.
Yeah, but
why do you no longer see TikTok as a security threat?
I think it is a threat. Frankly, I think everything's a threat. There's nothing that's not a threat. But sometimes you have to fight through these threats. You can't just, like Google. I'm not a fan of Google. They treat me badly. But are you going to destroy the company by doing that? If you do that, are you going to destroy the company? What you can do without breaking it up is make sure that it's more fair. They do treat me very badly. Oh, and he told me, no way, you're the #1 person on all of Google for stories. I mean, which probably makes sense, to be honest with you. I actually agree. Most of them are bad stories, but these are minor details, right? And it's only bad because of the fake news, because the news is really fake. That's the one we really have to straighten. We have to straighten out our press, because we have a corrupt press. That's the one we really.
Can I ask you about Silicon? I was in Silicon Valley recently. You talked to the tech bosses there and the tech people, and there seems to be a real fear that what you would do with tech is you would hand it over to Elon Musk and say, you sort it out.
No, I have great respect for Elon. Look, I saw that rocket ship come in yesterday and go right back to where it took off, to the gantry, I guess they call it. And I said, what the hell? I was on a phone talking about probably politics, and the television's on, and I'm seeing this big thing with
I can't wait to meet this guy today. I can't wait. It's going to be the highlight of my year.
Paint was burned off it from the, thousands of miles an hour, the heat. And I see this big, massive tube that's 10 stories, 20 stories tall come down. I told the person on the phone, wait a minute, I'm seeing something I don't believe it. Neither does anybody else here. And I said, wait a minute. I forgot the guy was on the phone. He waited for a half hour. And I watched that come down. And I watched it come down and come right in between those big levers. And I said, and it looked to me like I was going to crash. It was coming in hot. And all of a sudden, boom, you see the motor, the fire kick in. And I called Elon. I said, that's the most incredible thing. I said, can Russia do that? Nope. I said, can the United States do it? Nope. He's the only one that can do it. And I said,
you now want to put him in charge of deregulation.
Not deregulation, cutting.
Cutting wasteful spending.
Yeah, cutting.
Every single president,
which would include deregulation.
Every president comes in and talks about cutting wasteful spending.
Oh, there's tremendous waste.
Give me an example of something you will do that will get rid of government spending.
Well, let me give you an example. When I came into government, I was the first thing.
An example going forward.
Well,
not what you did in the past.
This is going forward because it's the same thing. When I first sat down, a general came into my office and he said, sir, it's nice to meet you. Would you please sign this? I said, what is it? It's a contract for a new Air Force One, which is actually 2 planes, not one, 2 Boeing 747. And I said, how much is it? $5.7 billion. It's a hell of an expensive plane, but there's reasons for that. And he said, nope, I'm not signing it. I said, who negotiated it? Barack Hussein Obama. I said, I'm not signing it. Why?
Why you always call him Barack Hussein Obama? Oh.
Because there's a lot of fat. I said, I'm not signing. It's got to have a 3 on it. Anyway, long story short, some of you have heard this. I got it down to, because first week they cut off $400 million. He said, I'll cut. I met with the head of Boeing. Wait, Dennis. I said, Dennis, you got to have a 3. 5.7 is too much. 5.7 billion. He said, the most I'll take off is $400 million. I said, well, that's not bad for one conversation. So he got it down. I said, nope, I'm not accepting. Then he took off 2 more. Then he took off. Anyway, 2 months went by, 3 months went by. I thought we blew the deal, and it was okay with me. I didn't care. But we should have a new Air Force One. When we see these planes from Saudi Arabia, from different countries, brand new, and ours is like 32 years old, and it's a very different plane. It's a much smaller plane, the whole thing. The United States should have the best plane, I will tell you. Not for me, but we should have.
Let me give you an example.
So he said, he calls up.
Trump don't be giving a piss about what he talking about. He like, listen, I'm going to tell my story, and you going to listen. And I want to hear the story. I don't want to hear nothing about what they talk about. I want to hear what he wants. The art of the deal, baby. I want to hear how you negotiated.
After like 2-3 months, I didn't call him, which is the best way to buy something. Don't call back. And he goes, in fact, when he called me, I said, I wonder what the hell he wants. That's a good way to negotiate, let me tell you. So he calls back. He said, sir, $3,999,999.99 1 penny below $4 billion. So I said, you got yourself a deal. Then I said to him, let me ask you a question. So you had a deal at $5.7 billion, and in a period of 2 months, I got $1.7 billion off. That means you're going to make $1.7 billion profit on an airplane. Did nobody ever negotiate with you? Well, not really, sir. They just, this is the price, and they said, we'll take it. And I said, and then I learned, that was my first experience, from that. But then I learned everything is like that. There is so much waste. So I'm getting, think of this, the exact same plane for $1.7 billion less, except I have a better paint job. Okay, much better paint job. A different color, red, white, and blue is beautiful. And if you look at every contract, that's one contract, and relatively small compared to most. Think of it. You save $1.7 billion because you negotiate. Every deal is like that. We're building ships that are costing 2-3 times more.
Can you give me an example of something?
There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse in our country. And if you could cut it, you would have a surplus without even going into growth. But growth, we will grow. We're going to bring companies and jobs in at levels that you've never seen. And you would never be able to do it because you're not a believer in tariffs.
I'm not running for president.
Let me tell you, the only way you can do it is through the threat of tariffs. It's the only way you can do it.
Can we come back to one thing on that?
Nope. I think that's absolutely awesome, and I got to give him a round of applause for that, because what he's basically saying, and he used an example, and the host/moderator is missing the point. He's missing what Trump is communicating to him. He's telling him without telling him that everything is negotiable. At the same time, the amount of government waste and spending at the taxpayer's expense. And I don't know if people are just completely incompetent or that they are getting broke off and they making a whole lot of money and it's a bunch of backroom deals, which I could believe that. Yo, you inflate the price an additional $2 billion. Maybe we can cut you 100, 200 M's on the back end in some kind of Swiss bank account. I don't know. I would just have to guess. But the point is that the amount of government spending and waste, and he used a small example to illustrate why we need oversight over the government itself, because they don't have any restrictions as to how they can spend our money, would ultimately result in a surplus, and we wouldn't need additional taxes because we're wasteful in how we're using our tax money already across all different industries in the federal government. And I don't know any one person, not one person, on the Democratic side or the Republican side, if you remove the candidates themselves, if you remove the candidates, what is this, 47-17? All right, we're going to come back to 47-17. If you remove the candidates themselves and you only presented the issue alone without saying that it was tied to the Democratic side or the Republican side, that y'all would not say, yes, we need an audit of the federal government of how they're using our monies and our tax dollars to do things that we don't even agree with, and some stuff we don't even have visibility into. That is not an issue that should be Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative, waste and not being fiscally responsible with our tax dollars is one of the biggest wasteful spending sprees that we've seen inside of this country. And so if the host was wise, instead of trying to listen and respond, instead of listening to understand, he gave you an example how everything A should be negotiated, and B, we need to be more mindful of how we're spending on the federal government in order to ensure that the people's tax dollars is being used effectively. Listen to understand instead of listening to respond. And it was an entertaining story.